What am I even doing? What am I even doing, guys? What is going on, Aztec Nation? This is another episode of the Sons of Montezuma podcast. I am your host, Mateo. You can find me at Mateo San Diego on Twitter. And of course, at Sons of Monty on Twitter. Make sure you check out our NIL shop at sonsofmontezuma.com. And right now, you can save 10% when you use the promo code MONTY at checkout. That is a good way to save you some bucks on all of our NIL products, because that's what we like to do. We like to make merch for the current players, and we are expanding very, very soon into other sports and all of those good things. But enough of all that. We want to welcome everybody coming into the stream as we see the numbers coming in. Welcome. It's not a victory. It's not a victory Wednesday, unfortunately, but you know, I am joined with my two regular co-hosts. You cannot stop him. You can only hope to contain this man. He is known for all his fiendalytics, dropping stats, dropping metrics like bombs. What's going on, Fiend? How are you doing, man?
I'm a little melancholy tonight. You know, I was hoping for an Aztec win, and I'd be in a good mood talking, with this podcast, but it is what it is, so we'll talk about it and then we'll move on.
We shall. And joining us, he went from East County to East Tahoe. He is going hard in the paint. I don't know if he went hard in the paint last night after watching that game. Maybe hard on something else. I don't know, man. How did you take that loss last night? How are you doing, Mike?
Good, man. What's up, guys? Whatever, man. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is, dude. Like, it's just one game. 16-5. We're still looking pretty good. So it's life on the road in the Mountain West Conference. It's the only way I can put it.
I just wanted to hear that. I just wanted to hear that. I love that little soundbite, man. So as everybody knows, 79-71, the Aztecs fell to the Colorado State Rams. And it wasn't a fun one. It was a little fun, right? It had us there for a second. It was back and forth a lot. Before we deep dive into the game, guys, I got to address the obvious. And the obvious was yesterday we had our watch party. And it was a really cool thing. We were down at Over the Tap. Over the Tap is an establishment that they're down in National City. That's my neighborhood. And I want to thank everybody. Got to take this time out before we get too deep into things, but just want to thank everybody who showed up, donated towards the flood relief efforts. Of course, the Hijos were front and center. All the guys, Oscar, Andrew, Mel, Sergio. I mean, look at K5 over there sipping, DJing, and he got behind the turntables, and just a lot of our supporters came out as well. Angelica, we thank you so much for cruising out. Got to thank the National City Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, the American Legion. We collected a lot of items, guys. Even Mr. Tortolat donated to us, man. Big props to the Tortolat family, bro. Big props. Thank you guys so much. As you guys can see, everybody had a great time. It was a crazy game, but to have the community come out. That's Mr. Caliware right there. Barra from Caliware, the owner, came out, brought some clothes. I mean, you guys could see it. Just so much love and community was there on hand, and it made the loss sting a little less, guys, because when you see people come out and support, I mean, we didn't really promote this thing as much as I would have liked probably, but nevertheless, people came out, showed their love, showed their appreciation, and we stepped up for the National City community. I can verify, guys, today, because I dropped off all those supplies. And they were well received, guys. Like the looks on the faces. I took them down to the Happy Hollows mobile park, and guys, that they were very appreciative of it. And it looks like we're gonna get some more rain coming in soon. So I think just in the nick of time, guys. I mean, Fiend, how you weren't able to make it there, but man, just with everything coming down, buckets are gonna start raining again. It's a kind of interesting time down here.
It's crazy. Like on Monday, I was in El Cajon working, and I had no idea how bad the storm was until I got home and saw the video after work on TV, and that video of the I-5 like completely underwater by Cesar Chavez Parkway, that just absolutely blew my mind. I was like, no way is that San Diego. It was. So yeah, let's prayers that we won't get it too bad. It looks like a pretty bad storm that's coming in, but hopefully it's not as bad as last time.
Thank you, Sarah Fembone. Nicely done, guys. Yeah, we were able to raise a good amount of money. Definitely over $1,000. And I'm proud to say that over one night, just one little watch party event. And just hoping that these funds and all these materials go towards, hopefully we don't have to do it again. But Mike's all comfy up there in Reno town, meanwhile.
It's cold, man, but it ain't raining. It's gonna rain tonight and stuff. But hey, does K5 James only wear polos? Is that all he has in wardrobe? I've never seen him wear a t-shirt. It's always polo.
Polos and kicks, man. He's a sneakerhead and he loves them polos. You know what I mean? He's
Polo
working
5
out.
James. P5J.
Guys, we got to talk about the game. But again, yeah, a big thank you to everybody who showed up. Everybody really appreciate it. Really appreciate your giving. So let's talk about the game, though, guys, because it was a rough one. I mean, when you come out on the road, we talked about it last episode, Fiend. You were very adamant about it. I'll switch you two guys over there so it looks like you're talking to each other. Fiend, you were very adamant about it. This was a game on the road. This was winnable. This was stealable. We know how tough Mountain West play is on the road. The altitude, the crowds get really involved in it. The travel for San Diego State. If you want to be that top championship team, you got to steal these games on the road. And to come out so flat, I know we were talking about it. That was one of the things we want to address, to come out so flat after having rest. How could this be?
Yeah, I was completely flabbergasted by it. I was thinking to myself, do we need another week off to go work on some things and then come back again? It just got us in such a big hole early, and I was expecting the opposite. I was expecting us to come out fresh and hyped up and silence their crowd and jump on top of them like we did at New Mexico. Where we got on top of them early. Unfortunately, let the game slip away later. But this one, we were just clawing back from a deep dark hole that we were in, of just a calamity of errors that we were making. And give the Rams credit. I mean, they were shooting lights out from 3-point range. We were not defending the three well in the first half. And that's kind of set the tone, But I will say this: I'm disappointed in the result, but I'm proud of the guys for their resilience and being able to fight back and actually get the lead in the second half.
That's probably a good way of putting it, that resilience, right? If you want to put a positive, take to a loss, if there is one. Mike, talk to me about it, man. Coming out flat. What were you thinking when you saw us come out? Rough beginning.
I was like, man, here we go again, man. Like, I don't get it. I remember I made a comment. It's like everybody's Super Bowl. I mean, we had won 4 in a row against Colorado State in like 10 of 12 or something like that. So you keep getting stats like that in every game we play. We beat teams a lot, and so they always want to come out and it's us, national championship game, which is obviously just whatever. But then it's like they want to come out and beat us, and it's like extra motivation for everybody because we always beat them. So, I mean, it's one of those games, as you guys know, as you get older, you're just like, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, dude. Like, if this is what's going to happen today. They had 3 offensive rebounds in the first 2 possessions, and then they were hitting those shots. And, the silly turnovers, 15 turnovers to 2 from last game. I mean, each game is its own novel, right? But the silly turnovers were kind of crazy. I haven't seen a team play like that in a while, for us to have those just dribbling off the leg or just a pass. And then Jaden just got manhandled underneath, man. Like, there wasn't a foul on them until like 7 minutes left in the first half. And then we shot 7 free throws and they had 20 something. So I mean, I haven't seen a game go that long without the first break down to like, what was it, 12-minute mark before Dutch had to call a timeout. So, I mean, I don't know. There just seems to be some disparities in reffing on each team. We get it at home. We get the benefit of the doubt at home, and it seems like all the home teams get a little bit more judicious calls at home. But, one thing about this team is they're never going to stop fighting. And that team is going to fight until the end, no matter what kind of game they're having. I love seeing Dutch. I mean, I don't know, Dutch was, channeling Coach Velasquez, with that passion, that fire, man. I don't remember him. I've seen him pissed, but I don't know if I've seen him that pissed before. And I think it was more along the lines. I mean, he was probably just really disappointed, man. Like, that was like, what are you guys, like, what are we doing here? Like, and I think he said in the article, he said, these guys knew the game plan. Exactly what was going to happen happened. So why would I call a timeout if I told you it was going to happen? And so, just one of those games, man. They lost 3 in a row. They needed that game. And so it's just the Mountain West. Like, it's just the Mountain West. I don't know what else to say, but hopefully we come home, and if we beat Utah State at home, you're like, all right, well, it's like Utah State and then everybody else right now. So you keep winning, and you're not going to win the conference, to be honest, unless somebody implodes up top. But which you could. I mean, something like that could happen. But play for seeding, and let's try and get better each game, and then go in the Mountain West tournament, firing on all cylinders.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been having these last few episodes in the background. We want to welcome in from the show. It is Aztec Flavor Guy. He's part of the show. You guys are seeing he looks like guys here. He's got the wig. He's got the face.
Hey,
what's going on, man?
Thanks again for having me. Yeah, I think I agree with you guys on your takes. I mean, same as the other game, turnovers and threes, but we actually outshot them on threes overall. Just the early turnovers really pissed me off. Like when they were in the beginning, it's like, no, what are you doing? Like every 30 seconds, it was like, no, these, I don't want to be that fan, talking about the officiating, but it was at least interesting, 10 plus minutes, no foul call, and that they, what was it, 22-7 on free throws or something attempted, 22-7. They were 16 out of 22. We were 7 for 7. I mean, that makes up the difference in the score. Obviously, anybody can say that, but and then the timeout situation, Dutch in general, like you guys said, I never really seen him that pissed off. Maybe you guys have been watching a little longer than I have, and he's usually more, calm and collected. But I also get it. It was a huge start by them, and they had like a day to rest. We had a week to rest, and I think most coaches would generally call a timeout when you get down like 10-2 and stuff like that. And I respect not calling it, because it's like, well, what are you gonna do differently? Just play on, right? Unless there's like, oh, we're not executing the game plan, but then he burnt through, and he's obviously a better coach than I am, as we'll say, but then burnt through all of the, timeouts really quick. And I was like, no, but it's, if it makes up the points, it makes up the points.
I mean, it's kind of like that Phil Jackson school, right? Where you kind of, you let the team figure it out a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. He trusts them. And as we see on offense, he trusts them offense. It's just, on play hard on defense, you get your free will on offense. It's kind of his philosophy, right? The one thing that we haven't talked about is the big guy, is Ladie. I mean, has he, been figured out? Are they just like triple team him, and then that's that? They figured out, is he just, are they not calling fouls on him anymore with different, road environments? Is it that we pass the ball into him and then he can't get a shot because he's, quintuple teamed, and then he can't pass it out because he's quintuple teamed and they don't call a foul? I mean, I think that's really the sort of key here. And we obviously, we don't have Mensa or anything. Yeah. The other guys are still, they're good players, but still young and still getting minutes and still picking up fouls too. So I feel like that's, other than the turnovers, I feel like that's the other big highlight, is the big guy,
Fiend, can you address some of that, man? Thank you, Flavor Guy. We'll bring you back in just a second. I want Fiend to kind of get in a little bit on that, because we've talked about the offense a bit. I don't think necessarily you can't figure Jaden Ladie out. I don't think you can suffocate his game. He obviously bounced back and did what he did. But if you're not calling the fouls, and I agree with the Flavor Guy, I don't want to be that fan. But when you see 22-7, and you know you have a Jaden Ledee on the court, he's a mismatch nightmare for anybody on that court. Nobody can guard him one-on-one. But then when you throw everybody at him, you're hacking him, you're bumping him all along, and you're not getting those calls that he was getting to obviously start the out-of-conference season. Something is afoot, as they say. Something is just not clicking. I will say this, though. I think they have found out a strategy to play him in the Mountain West Conference, the way that they officiate things. What do you got to say, man?
I think that the reffing in the New Mexico game, as much as a lot of people complained about it, was probably better than this game, as far as the calls, non-calls on Ledee. He shot one free throw. They were hacking him inside all game, holding him. We couldn't get the ball into him, because he's being held, and so I think that the foul disparity in this game was just horrible. And so I think the refs did have a part of that, but you got to understand that when you're playing on the road, you're not going to get favorable calls. And so if you're pinning your hopes in your success on getting favorable calls in this league, like, you're totally at the mercy of the refs. You have no control over your destiny, right? And so I think we got to find other ways to get him active. I have my ideas. It's not like it's going to change anything or change the strategy of it, but I think it's harder to guard him when he's not stationary. When he's got his back to the basket and he's sitting and trying to get an entry pass, it's a lot easier to guard him than if he is like moving around, setting screens, rolling to the basket, popping out. You can get on the ball more. Now it may not be 2 feet from the basket, but you're going to get the ball in his hands, and he can knock down shots from the outside. He can dribble and get to the hoop and get fouled. There's a lot of things that he can do, but I just think putting him he's not a back to the basket big. He's not like a traditional big. I know he's a big guy, but I just don't think that's like his strength. And so that's how I would use him. And we've talked about spreading the floor, and we've talked about putting Parrish and Waters in the corners because they shoot the ball so well, spreading the floor out, and letting DT and Lamont do what they do, get downhill, get mid-range shots and all that. But again, that's not going to change. Like, the offense is the offense. They've got to figure out some way to get him more involved.
Mike, when I see Ledee getting the ball and he drives into the paint, he goes hard in the paint, right? But one of the things I think the opposition has tapped in is, as soon as he drives into the paint, if he clutches the ball and hesitates like 1 second, they're jumping on that ball and they're trying to get that loose ball, right? They're trying to get the tie up really quick. So it's like that playmaking ability is something I think Dutch was keying in on. But when it comes to fans, we all see it. We all get a little emotional. We are getting a little emotional right about now. What's the message to the fans calling people out? You know what I mean? It's the middle of the journey here. This is a journey. This season is a journey. It's one game. Okay, it's on the road. It's another loss. But for those who are calling people out, trying to belittle something that they can't do themselves, come on. Where are we as fans?
Well, you're always going to have those kind of fans, and social media gives like the keyboard warriors that just throw it out there and they don't think there's any ramifications to it. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't say that stuff to them in person or whatever. We've all been there before. As we get older, we kind of remedy ourselves and just kind of take a minute and just say, once it's out there, it's out there. Like Herm Edwards said, don't hit send. Don't hit send, because once it's out there, it's out there. Right? So these guys are they're trying their hardest, man. And that's all you can do is play as hard as you can. They're freaking 19, 20-year-old kids, man. Like, they're kids. They still haven't gone through some of the life lessons that all of us have. You know what I mean? So, it's just crazy. Like, it's a game. you know, the players know it's a game. Fans take it harder than the players sometimes, you know, but it's a game, man, you know. And so, you know, we're still 16-5. You know, I think we were right around this last year. I think there's some air of, oh, well, we went to the national championship game, we're going to win every single game. No, every year is different. You know, I mean, different team. And you know, these guys haven't, like, Saunders hasn't played in all these venues yet. You know what I mean? Like Jay Powell hasn't played in all these venues. Waters hasn't played in all these venues. This is a brutal schedule to go from, you know, to you know, Air Force in Nevada and Colorado State, New Mexico. These aren't like, you know, like UCLA and USC and Oregon State and Oregon, man. Like, these are altitude, and it's not easy to get to these places. So the grind of that, I think, takes a little bit of a toll on it. And I think, you know, they're all going to be better for it when you get to, you know, the end of the year. And we all know how we play on neutral courts. But yeah, calling dudes out on you know, Twitter or Facebook or whatever like that, it's gutter rat stuff, dude. You know what I mean? Like, these kids are trying as hard as they can. They want to win the game, and they're bummed about it too. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're student athletes. They're not athletes who are students. You know what I mean? So just chill the fuck out, man. It's a basketball game, dude. You know what I mean? Like, holy Christ.
SD Born and Raised says, "Tell him, Mike. Tell him." Does that deserve a little something? Yeah.
By the way, they shot 67.7% from 2-point field goals last night. 53.8 overall. Can't have it. Can't do it. Can't win with it. Not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought defense travels. I thought defense travels, man.
yeah, no, not last night. So I mean, hey, you know what the whatever it's called is, the good sign or whatever it's called. We shot 100% from free throws. I don't remember the last time we ever did that. Even though it was 7 shots. But hey, you know what? It just, let's learn your lesson. See what happens. Come home and see if you can get a W on Saturday against Utah State at home, because that would be pretty cool, pretty neat. You know.
I see you on Helica, Mike, bringing the stats again. He's on a roll. Would love to see it. Okay, Romeo says, "Why does Saunders look lost? Why does he look lost?" Hey, that's something we've been hearing, right? We saw some pushback back and forth. I mean, we talked about that was kind of an issue a couple weeks ago. Saunders, Jay Powell. I see people saying Jay Powell should get some more playing time, I guess, and that was something in Ziegler's article, and his 3 reactions of the game was kind of like that position, the 4 spot, not getting really the production. Fiend, you got any thoughts on Mr. Saunders' game?
He had a rough game last night, and he's had a rough stretch here, really since before the semester break. I don't know what's going on. It looks like his confidence is just shaken. Not just offensively. I mean, the turnovers last night were pretty brutal. And they you know, he had those back-to-back turnovers that led to points on the other end. And, you know, this was right after we had grabbed the lead, and, you know, but also defensively, like, he just could not guard Cartier on the inside, and, you know, committed some fouls, and he's struggling. He's not hitting the ball from the outside. We got to find a way to get his confidence back. You know, I would like to see him play more inside, maybe in the dunker spot, weak side dunker spot, where Kashad Johnson used to play a lot, and, you know, get him some easy tap ins, like get him some easy. He shoots really well in the paint. He's hitting for a good clip in the paint. So get him the ball in the paint. And I think that could help get his confidence back, and that would be one way to get him going. The other thing, you know, is while he's getting his confidence back, I think Powell needs to play more minutes. I don't know what happened yesterday. Was he injured? I mean, why did he only get like 9 minutes in the game? That made no sense to me. I don't understand, you know.
Well, when Dutch slammed the clipboard, didn't you say like maybe he said something? I don't think he did at all. I just think
No.
Looking in that general direction, it was like,
yeah, it was.
I think he just slammed it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, when he slammed the clipboard, it looked like he looked at Saunders and he looked at Parrish, and I think he slammed the clipboard over effort. over effort,
Yeah,
defensive
yeah.
effort. I mean, we had a couple of plays. We had one where they got out on the like fast break, like no one picked up the the guy who was behind them, and they got an easy bucket on the other end because they just lofted it over our players, and no one looked behind them, to see if there was a offense opponent there, and that's just a lapse in concentration, and then the this was one of the worst defensive performances we've had all season. But one of the reasons we played so well defensively is because we had those 15 turnovers, and those 15 turnovers, there were 11 steals by Colorado State. And that led to 18 points on the fast break. That's why they were getting so many layups at the rim. And you just can't have that happen. You can't turn the ball over on the road. You have to protect the ball. You have to play smart. You have to play smarter on the road if you want to get a victory, especially when you're playing against, a top 30 KenPom team, or, maybe, I don't know what they are, like top 50, in Colorado State. I mean, you got to play smarter. And so that was sort of the frustration for me, was we just were not smart. We didn't play smart basketball last night. And that is really what I think led to the loss.
I like Sergio's point here that Bird gave good quality minutes off the bench. And I think that's always the case, right? Like, he's growing before our eyes. And it's one thing, like what you're saying, Fiend, you don't have to coach effort with him. He may make mistakes. He may make a mistake here or there. Everybody makes mistakes, right? It's a part of the game. But you're going to get that full-on effort. And, sometimes if that's all you got going for yourself at that moment, you just got to give it. You got to play. You got to give 100% max effort. One thing I'd love to see, Lamont Butler, I mean, he basically took that game over at a certain point. I mean, he was just getting what he wanted at that point, taking it in the paint, hitting the shots, and of course, having to guard on both ends, to do it both ends. People were talking about, okay, well, why didn't they put them back in at a certain stretch? But man, at altitude, I'm sure we're gonna find out what it is like to play out there on the road with our special guest coming in very, very shortly. Get some good insight from that perspective. Mike, any thoughts on that as far as bringing in certain players at certain times? And I mean, the guys have got to take a breather at some point, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, Lamont said he was exhausted after that stretch. I mean, he just was like, I needed a minute, man. And the altitude coming, from sea level where you guys are up here, it's no joke. You know what I mean? So, Colorado State, I don't know what their altitude is. I think it's a little bit higher than what we have here, but it's a lot, man. You know what I mean? So, whatever. I mean, you lick your wounds, you come home, you learn from it, you get a little bit better. And you sit there and I think Butler, I'll tell you what, man, like Butler's energy and athleticism he's still kind of like, I feel like he's still kind of growing into it right now. He's still kind of growing into his body, and he's still like, you can see each game he's getting better and more confident. He is going to be a really great player. I feel like he might be the biggest villain San Diego State's ever produced for every other team. Do you know what I mean? Like people, I watch his attitude. He's that kind of guy you love on your team. But if he's not on your team, you're like, dude, piss on that guy. I don't like that guy at all. But I love his energy and his athleticism and just what he brings to the thing. And Saunders will figure it out, man. I'll tell you what, like, I don't, hopefully he kind of rights the ship towards the end of the year. But I feel like he is going to have a huge offseason and come back and be a massive, massive contributor next year. Obviously we'll worry about next year, but I don't think he looks lost. I think he's just trying to grind through the season after not playing last year. You know what I mean? Like he's still getting his feet under. He's only played once. And you got to remember, like Colorado State had like what, 2, 3, 4, 5 fifth-year seniors? They were old. They were like us last year. So, what was advantageous for us last year is kind of disadvantageous for us this year. So, it is what it is, man. Well, if we can win our games at home and, hopefully pick off. I'll tell you one game, if we're going to win on the road, if we only win one game, it better be up here. Because I can just continue to talk smack to all these people up here because they were giving me a hard time last year. And then when we went to the Natty, I was like, where are y'all? I thought where's everybody? So, hey, Utah State, big game at home, Fox, national television, early game. But just keep winning, man. Just keep trying to, one foot in front of the other. It's the journey is always a lesson,
Larry Joe says, in my opinion, I see more teams than before getting into the paint and scoring inside on us. Well, I mean, hey, we don't got the returning guys of Nathan Mensah, who is in the NBA right now playing for the Hornets, and he's doing a crazy job, right, Fiem?
He is doing an amazing job. I think he's taken the second most charges in the NBA since like December 15th. I mean, it's awesome that he's even on an NBA roster. I mean, he was undrafted. He got a invite to the summer league. He got a roster invite to their preseason camp, but I mean, it didn't. He got cut from the team, or moved down to the G League, and then because of some injuries, they moved him up, and he stayed. It's amazing. I thought he would only be like 1 or 2 games with the Hornets. Now I know they're not winning. That they have a losing record, but I only thought he'd be 1 or 2 games up there and then back down the G League team. Now they're keeping him up there. So it's really awesome to see the success that Nathan is having. I just love that guy.
Absolutely.
Did Matt freeze?
I think he did.
It's like a Van Gogh painting. Why you're gonna sign that guy's chest, bro?
Oh man.
I got fans, Mike.
Okay, everybody. I hope everybody is in their chairs and they are ready for our special guest. I know everybody's very excited once they saw the post come out. I got text messages saying, okay, really 8:30. Okay. So it looks like it's gonna happen. So as we like to do, we are going to bring in our special guest. You guys know him, and Mike is going to do his thing. First and foremost, let's bring in number 42 himself, Jerm. What's going on, Jeremy Hemsley? How are you doing, Jerm? Welcome.
Blessed, man. I'm blessed. Thanks for asking.
Man, this is a little new and different for us. When we usually interview people, it's not on the live. So you are a first former Aztec4Life joining us on YouTube Live. Everybody make sure you are sharing so we can get all your questions and comments and stuff.
I'm honored.
So before we do anything further, Mr. Mike Tortolot up there in the upper right, he usually gives us our little introduction. So go ahead and take it on, Mike.
What's up, Jeremy? Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you.
Of course, man. Of course.
All right. Our next guest on the Sons of Montezuma podcast is a prominent player that scored an impressive 1,392 career points in 134 appearances. As a starter in 3 out of his 4 years on the Mesa, this guard is widely acknowledged as one of the best perimeter defenders to ever wear the scarlet and black. He holds the record for three-point percentage in a single game with 87.5%, making 7 of 8 shots against Grand Canyon University in 2016. His teams went 90-48 during his 4 years, including the 15-16 Mountain West regular season champions, the 2016 Diamond Head Classic champions, and the 17-18 Mountain West tournament champions. Beyond his athletic achievements, he is the founder of Divine Dreamers. Recently honored with a jersey retirement at Damien High School in Laverne, California, he earned accolades such as the 2014-15 LA Player of the Year, the 2015 John Wooden Award winner, 2015 CAF state champion, and was a 3-time San Gabriel Player of the Year. We are honored to welcome Mr. Jeremy Hemsley to the podcast.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, I appreciate that love, man. Y'all did the damn thing with that one. Thank you for that.
Man, you
Some things I didn't know. There were some things I didn't know in that too. I didn't know about the 3-point percentage at Grand Canyon. I do remember that game.
Yeah, we do too, man. That was a good game. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for joining us, man. We really appreciate you. We enjoyed watching you play ball in all those years, and we're glad you're here.
Yeah, Jeremy, one of the things I absolutely loved about you when you were an Aztec was your willingness to engage with the fans. Like I was on some of those Facebook Live you know, that you did, and you were engaging with I think it was with the SDSU basketball fan club or whatever, and it was awesome. You were doing it from your apartment on campus, and sometimes Nolan Noreen, I think, was your roommate. He would pop in accidentally, but man, I just loved like your honesty, your openness, and just your willingness to reach out and you know, just converse with us.
Man, I'm glad that you said that, man. It's and if my answers are too long, please don't hesitate to tell me, because I just want to make sure I'm giving, you know, thorough actual answers. But that was an important aspect for me, was feel me, just to converse with everybody, you know, because it was a dream to play there. I remember the first San Diego State that I went to when I was still in high school. I just couldn't believe that the crowd was the way that it was. So when I did get on campus and I got to be around everybody and I got to talk to everybody, it was I guess it was important for me at the time to show people the human element to me, because, you know, you're watching somebody on the court all the time, or from an outside perspective, it's easy to lose the human aspect, you know. So that was something that was important to me, was to show my personality and just show who I am outside of the basketball court, you know. So I'm thankful you acknowledge that.
I'm seeing here in the comments already, I didn't know you scored 20 points.
Yeah,
was that true in your first game, in your first
game?
SDSU game?
My first game. First game. And it's crazy. I remember how I felt that morning. It was crazy because I was talking to one of my past teammates during that time. And recently, actually, we were talking about that. We were talking about the morning of that game, because I remember how I felt. I don't really remember too many games from that time or high school, but I remember that game and how I felt leading up to it. I remember how I felt when I woke up that morning, and it just felt good. It was a good energy that morning. And but yeah, 20 points my first game. It was pretty encouraging.
Is that a big part of it? I mean, when I watch basketball, I love it because it's such a rhythm sport, right? You got to be in rhythm. If you get the ball, take a dribble, pull up, jumper, whatever. But just outside, off the court, if you're feeling good off the court, you bring that on the court, right? I mean, that's got to play a heavy part.
For sure. And you know, especially at that time, I still felt so wide-eyed being on campus, you know, just because I'm around guys. Silent Cheatham was on the team, Malik Pope, guys that I looked up to, you know. So I had to do so much, and I was 18 at this time. I had to do so much in preparation just to get on the court and feel good, you know. I remember just laying in my dorm room, and I was just laying there just visualizing how I'd feel on the court, you know. And I remember when I opened my eyes, leading up to going to shoot around, I opened my eyes after just laying there for a second. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a good one today. So to answer your question, it does take the preparation. Everything you see on the court is everything that people don't see behind the scenes. You feel me? Like everything that you see, like with Lamont Butler hitting the shot last year, it's everything that people don't see, you know. So it's cool that we can bring up that memory, because that's a memory I haven't thought of since I left college. So yeah.
I can't imagine, you know, looking back on these few years. I mean, I'm very excited to have you on. I obviously follow you on Instagram and seeing the brand, you know, the brand that you've created. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm really curious about that. Divine Dreamers.
So, after I decided to stop playing basketball, this was after I did 1 year overseas. And once I made that decision, it was kind of, it was tough. It was tough because, you know, I've been playing basketball since I was 2 years old. So it was a weird space that I was in of, you know, who am I? What am I doing? You know, if I've been identifying myself as this basketball player since I was a child, that's where it started, you know. And then I took those thoughts and that conversation to my woman who I'm dating and who I love very much. I gave her everything that I was thinking. I was talking to her about it, you know, and she believed that I could do it. You know, fashion was always something I had a passion in outside of basketball, but I was never in position to be able to juggle both. You know, it's like once you're playing the sport, you have to be fully invested into that. So after I made that decision, after I talked with my girlfriend about it, You know, she just kind of put that battery in my back of just like it's something that I could do, and then it was just something that we pursued together. So anybody that's close to me knows that I love fashion, and you know, it's something that is a part of me. So it wasn't too out of the ordinary for, you know, everybody else around me to see it. It may have been out of the ordinary for people who may not know me like that, because they're like, damn, you just stopped playing basketball. But I had never really talked about why I stopped playing basketball. I had just made the decision and kept it between my family and I, you know. And but yeah, that's how it came about. That's how it came about.
I can't imagine, and sorry if I'm taking all the questions, guys, but you talk about playing basketball from 2 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that to get to this level that you had, like, that's so much time, dedication.
Yeah.
You know, they say the grind, you know,
Yeah.
ball, what do we say? Ball is life. You know what I
Ball
mean?
is
That's
life, literally, man.
literally
And
what it is. I mean, so much work you have to put in just to get to that point. So
right, and the tough part is, not to cut you off. I'm sorry if I did
yeah,
cut you off, but
yeah.
the tough part about it when you've given yourself to something your whole life, the tough pill to swallow is that there's no guarantee that it'll work out. You know,
Mm.
you can't get that time back. You can't get those years back. Not saying that that's what I want, but that was the tough part in chasing that dream, or any dream that I'm chasing, is there's no guarantee that it'll work. You feel me? I
Yeah.
can put all my time and energy and effort into this, and it may not work, you know. So, but I wouldn't trade back anything. I've loved what basketball did for me, man. It did more than I could have ever imagined. Seriously.
I'm hogging all the questions, guys. You guys got anything?
I want to know why did you pick 42? What was that number from?
So that's a long story, but I'm gonna try to keep it short. So, and the end of the story will kind of blow your mind. So when I was a little kid, my dad would always talk to me about this roommate he had, because my dad played basketball too, right? He played at Chaffey College, which is a community college not too far from where we stay at now in Rancho Cucamonga. He had a roommate who he just really loved his game. They were close, but he would always talk to me about his game. He would always say, "You remind me of this guy. You remind me of this guy." One day I asked him, I'm like, "Who is this? Like, who is this? Who is this guy you keep talking to me about?" So my dad told me how his roommate, he ended up getting murdered. He got shot. He got killed. He got murdered. Um, and my dad was telling me how when he came home and found out that he got murdered, how hurt he was. So he had just went in a room by himself, and he just got to praying. He was just, and I guess talking to his friend out loud, you know, after he had just passed, he was just by himself. He was talking to him out loud, and he was saying how, man, if you could leave anything on this earth, just leave your talent with my son, because I think I was either just born, I was about to be born. So my dad was telling me the story of him asking him, just leave your talent with my son. And he said that when he did that, the room just got still, and the candles that he had blowing just went out, right? And he told me that he wore 42. And this was after I had already chose 42, I think. I think I had just chose, I was already gravitating towards that number for some odd reason. I had chosen. And then my dad told me that story of who this guy was, right? So I end up, and I just took pride in the fact that my dad, he really respected this person, because my dad never really talked to me about anybody the way that he talked to me about this man, right? So I get to San Diego State, and this had to be around my freshman, sophomore year maybe. And do you guys remember Marcus Slaughter? You guys know Marcus
Yeah.
Slaughter passed?
Oh
It was
yeah.
his
Oh
brother.
yeah.
It was his brother.
Wow.
And
Oh, wow.
you look at Marcus wore 42 as well.
Yeah.
And we were wearing 42 for the same person. One, I had never met the guy,
Oh,
but it was Marcus's brother. And Marcus had hit me. This is right, like I said, around my sophomore year. And I remember when he hit me, and because he asked me, he's like, "Why do you wear 42?" I told him the story. He's like, "Man, that's my brother." I was like, man,
Wow.
I was like, bro, no way, that's your brother. And that was one of the things that had me feeling like I was supposed to be at state, because I was like, man, you can't even make some shit like this up. I'm like, whoa. But that's the story, man. It started as a child, and it literally led up all the way until college.
Wow,
Synergy,
wow.
man. You can't, synergy is like things in your life that like add up and you're like, wow,
Can't make it up.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Right.
So
Thank you, man.
No problem, brother.
How
I'm
you
on this
living?
call right now. I'm blessed, brother. But no,
but that's
no, it
that's
is
cool.
energy. It is, man. It's a
We're
blessing.
already getting reactions. People are getting chills in the chat listening to you tell that story.
Man, that's cool, man. That's cool. Because people would ask, like, do you wear it for Jackie Robinson? I'm like, man, I never met Jackie Robinson, so I never knew that guy.
That's crazy. I mean, it is Jackie Robinson's birthday today, so that's why I'm
Oh, it
wearing
is.
the
I,
Brooklyn
see,
hat.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
That's why
Okay.
And then I have Marcus's shorts from when he played. I have his white and red shorts in my.
Wow.
So I was sitting there and I would work out. Remember Randy Shelton? So we were working out and Marcus was in the gym with us. I'm like, bro, I got your shorts. He's like, I gotta get those back. I said, no, wasn't mine now, dude. You know, so that's crazy. Like it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon
It's
kind of
crazy,
thing.
bro.
That's crazy.
Can I
That's a wild
ask y'all
story.
something? Like, how did y'all? I have two questions actually, but my first one: how did y'all start this podcast? Like, tell me about that. I actually want to know.
Okay. So basically, what was it? 2017, probably. San Diego State was looking to buy the football stadium right in Mission Valley, the one they used to play in. And I myself, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I used to always just make on Instagram like player edits, and I would just put player edits out there, graphics, different things of that nature. And we would tailgate, me and my buddies, we'd all tailgate. K5 James, he was on the original podcast. He started it just to get the word out for people to vote. Because in order for San Diego State to get that stadium, they had to vote for it.
Right.
And so us being the diehard Aztecs that we are, we said, let's put together a podcast. Let's get the word out. Let's tell the truth. Let's get the word out to all the voters so that we can get this stadium. And, our love for San Diego State, it runs deep. I grew up literally across the street from campus. My dad worked there for many years. Mike down below, he's an alum. SD Sports Fiend's an alum. So just our love for the program, for especially athletics, it runs deep, man. We've been doing this for several years now. It's just grown from football to basketball to hopefully more. And of course, I'm a graphic designer, so we started this clothing line as well.
Wow.
Making NIL products for some of the guys on the team. Lamont Butler's one, Jaden Ledee. And it's just been growing, man. So this whole Sons of Montezuma, it's a family, it really is a family atmosphere. And so for you to come on, it's just an extension of Aztec Familia, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
we
man.
appreciate it.
I commend you guys, seriously, man. It's not hard studying. It's not easy starting anything just from a thought in your mind, man. So I commend you guys, seriously. I feel blessed to even be speaking with you guys tonight, for real.
The pleasure is ours, because we, like you said, we know. I mean, when you start something, when you're the first to start something, what do they always say? You're the first to get hit on the head. You're the first to get your head bashed in. You're on the front lines. You want to start something. You want to be original. Nah, they may like your originality. They may like your originality, but you may cause some waves.
Right.
And some people may not like it.
Man.
But it's okay. We still doing it because this is what we love. We love Aztec Nation.
I applaud all three of you, seriously, man. Seriously.
Jeremy, we got a super chat question. People, one of the great things about this YouTube platform and doing it live is that people can actually donate to what we're doing. So Mr. Art Vandelay, he says, did SDSU coaches support you after basketball? Now you talk about starting stuff. Coach Dutcher, Coach Fisher, they really turned this Aztec program around. They were the first to really get it to a certain level. That took a lot of support. Now for you, starting your entrepreneurial, clothing line and all that good stuff, you need that support as well. So, I mean, is that something you've recognized in this Aztec family?
I mean, and I haven't spoken to Coach Dutcher. If I go to the game, me being at the game this Saturday will be my first time even speaking to Coach Dutcher since I graduated.
Beautiful.
you know, and I got Coach Dutcher in his first year as a head coach, you know. So first year head coach isn't the same as who he is now. You know, I think he was still in the process of learning as all the other coaches were around him. And I think at the time I was expecting him to maybe, I don't know if support is the right word, but yeah, I guess help me out. But I don't think from my perspective, I don't think that was realistic of me to think that way during that time. You feel me? Because these are people who have a job. They have recruits coming in, and they just have a lot going on. So to answer the question, no, I didn't get support from them, but I think it was. I don't really think it was necessarily something that we both, all of us, wanted to come to an agreement to. You know, like it wasn't a conversation we had prior to me graduating. Like, hey, I'm gonna need help. You know, and there's still conversations that I haven't had with Dutch or Dave or with those guys who were there when I was there. So I don't really want to speak on things that I haven't had the chance to speak on to them about. But
Sure.
um, like I said, I haven't spoken to him or seen him since I left. But to answer the question, I think that, like I said, it's always a new wave coming in, so you don't really have time to focus on the players who are leaving. You know, so it is kind of in the players' hands to figure it out on your own. You know, so
Yeah.
and at the time, I think I might have. I think I might have deluded myself a little bit into thinking like, "Hey, you should be helping me," and I did have some resentment in my heart at the time as a 22-year-old. But I've grown as a man, you know, so I'm able to see my foolish thinking at the time, you know. So
Was that
obviously they're doing great things.
what was that something that you did by choice though, like by not reaching out? Like some people just don't,
No,
they don't reach out or.
I did reach out to Dave at the time. But like I said, there's so much. Like I don't want them to hear this or anybody to hear this and think that they did something wrong because they didn't, you know. And I did reach out to Dave, and I think there's a level of communication that he could have had with me at the time. But at the same time, on that same note, would I have been ready at that time in the age that I was at to receive that level of communication? You know what I'm saying? So, I oh, sorry, I don't know if I froze. I actually
You're good.
I actually did reach out to Coach Fish just because this was like 2 months. This was like 7, 8 months ago. I was laying down and he popped in my mind. He just popped in my mind. It was so random. It was so random to the point I'm like, let me call this guy because I don't know why he popped in my head. So I called him and we talked on the phone for like 10, 15 minutes, and that was cool. But I think life just moves at such a rapid pace, and I think the coaches may have felt like I felt the way because of how my junior year went, and you know, it was just a lot of unsaid things. I think in certain areas they probably felt like they didn't know how I felt about them, and I also didn't know how they felt about me. So um, I think it was just lack of communication. But while I was there, everybody treated me well. You know, everybody treated me well for sure. So.
Well, hopefully, by coming back on Saturday, you'll get a chance maybe to reconnect with some of the coaches,
I
that you
think
haven't
so.
talked to
I
since you
think
left. And I think
think
that,
so.
that'd be good for you to be around family and remember what it's all about.
Right, because so much has happened, and it's even just the way it happened. I haven't attempted to come to a game or anything. It just happened, and even since I left college, that's something I kind of always had in the back of my mind. Like if I were to go back, it's probably going to be something that God orchestrates, or it's gonna be on God's time, and it wouldn't be anything that I have to force. So that's kind of how it happened. It's nothing I have to force, and me being there, I'm sure it's gonna feel nostalgic because I haven't been there at all. But I'm looking forward to talking to everybody and seeing people that I haven't seen.
Beautiful.
And watching an Aztec victory too.
And watching the Aztec game, man, I have dreams still to this day. I have dreams where I got on the Aztec uniform and I'm hearing the crowd, and I can never make a shot in my dream for some reason, but I still have a dream. I still have dreams where I'm on campus, which is so odd.
Divine dreamer, man. Divine dreamer.
Come on, man. Come on.
Man. Now, I mean, I can't imagine that's such a pivotal moment in a young man's life. Like, absolutely, you would have flashbacks and dreams of being in that
Right.
arena, in that jersey. Like, that's such a big part of your life.
Yeah, man. And I think at the time too, it's like you can you can be in the moment, but you don't really see how big this moment is until it's later on and you get to reflect on it, you know?
Mm.
So I saw it in a moment, but I didn't really see it in a moment. You know, I didn't really see that other people are watching what I'm doing and people are really paying attention. You know, I was just being myself.
Yeah.
What was it
Does it-
like to play in Viejas?
It was like it was like a dream. Like it didn't feel real. And it's funny you asked me that. I'm gonna give you one example. This was like my freshman year, I think. And we were playing New Mexico, I believe. And it was a close game. I'm pretty sure it was a close game. It was sold out. It was a lot of people in there. And I had got the ball. They fouled me because it was a close game. It was the game was about to end, so I had to make the free throws. But I remember being at the free throw line, man, and I'm dribbling. And all of a sudden I realized that all these people in the arena are watching me shoot the free throw. Everybody's eyes is on me watching the free throw. Like I'm dribbling, and then I caught myself thinking, I'm like, Jeremy, bro. I was like, Jeremy, let the thought go. I was like, let the thought. Luckily, I made the free throw. But it was a dream, man. Like I remember the starting lineups when it goes black and you see all the flashes, and I would just always be thinking about how my parents felt in that moment. Like I'm sure that felt good for them to see that, you know. But it was a dream, man. That was a gift from God. That was a gift from God.
Well, have you ever, when you were shooting free throws, I don't know if you ever saw this guy. He's one of the show members. This is Aztec
Yes,
Flavor.
It's an honor
He
to
was
see,
like,
man. Yeah,
What's up, man?
I was there. Like your first years were my first years. I was just sitting in a wizard costume, like behind the band. But it was so
Yeah.
much fun watching you and just your energy and just hard work the whole time. Yeah, I don't know what to say, but
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
You see
Thank you.
these comments coming in too. Like Larry says, my daughter's basketball number in high school is 42 because of you. One of her favorite Aztecs.
Wow. So what do you guys remember about me from that time?
man.
And it could be anything. Please don't tell me nothing I want to hear because that's not why I'm
The
asking.
one time you missed that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
I got a story. Like this is interesting. So I was at the 2000. I think it was a 2019 Mountain West Conference Championships, right? And we're playing Nevada. Right. Remember, we blew the doors off in Nevada in 2018, and then we played them again, and they were really good. I think they brought back all their, their star players. And I was talking to, and so we kind of had a rivalry going between us and Nevada at the time. And I was talking to some fans from Nevada, and they were like, "I freaking hate San Diego State. I despise them, but I'll tell you what, I love Jeremy Hemsley." They're like, I love his game. And that was awesome to hear that from like an opposing fan. Like they just really appreciated the way that you played, and they loved like the tenacity and being able to swat shots and play really tough defense and just all the energy that you brought. And so that was really cool.
That's a good answer. And I only ask that because I think back to that time in my life, and what comes up for me is the things that I wish I handled better, especially my junior year when I was dealing with adversity, not starting no more. And I think about that time, and I think a lot of people that watched me during that time, they not that it's a bad thing, because how anybody can remember me how they like, but I think a lot of people remember me for that year and who they saw at that time, and I think back to that time and I'm like, man, I could have done a lot of things different, and the coaches could have too, but I've always not hated, but I've always wished that not just fans, but anybody that's followed my basketball journey doesn't only equate my San Diego State experience to that 1 year,
Mm, mm,
you know.
mhm.
But that's why I asked, because I was just curious. I was curious to see what you guys thought. Not saying it would have been a bad thing, obviously.
I mean,
But
me
before,
personally, I just knew what we got out of you, man. Like I just knew
Yeah,
you would hustle, you would play hard, you played defense, and you were just like nothing crazy over the top spectacular, but just solid, great player that you knew was going to bring it every night. And you just kind of watched and said, I know what I'm going to get with Jeremy. I mean, every
right.
night. So, I would sit behind the visitors bench and see you guys play and warm up and stuff like that. And just solid, consistent player that you knew you were going to get max effort
Right.
every single night.
Man, I
well,
appreciate you saying that.
I will say, Jerm, that is something that I do remember.
Hmm.
Talking about that specific year, but it's definitely not like the first and foremost lasting thing at all.
Right,
Because
right,
when I think about you, I think about, and obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but
right.
realizing that you move forward and the
Yeah,
team move forward, and seeing the energy, the enthusiasm, the smile on your face, that energy. I mean, to see how your career ended up at State, I mean, talk about a defensive nightmare for the opposing team. I mean, that was just
right.
such a thrill to see what was going on come full circle, and you just really thrive in the end. And it was like, man,
Yeah,
that's special. That's special
yeah.
because it's a journey, it's a process. You talk
It
about coming
is,
in,
man.
being kind of wide-eyed, and like you said, Dutch's first year as a head coach. I mean, that's a big responsibility on him. And I
Right,
just love
right,
what I'm hearing from you, that
right,
realization of like kind
right.
of
I didn't
being
really see it at the
mature
time.
and
I didn't really see it because I remember the day Fish told us that he was going to retire. I was like, damn, like,
yeah,
because I had a good relationship with Fish at the time, and even moving, I even moving into that, I hadn't really. When Dutch was a assistant coach, we didn't really have a level of communication. Dutch was more, he was quiet. He was always observing Fish. He was always observing the players, and you could kind of
yeah,
see he was observing mentally, getting ready to move into that space. So
yeah,
I hadn't really had a relationship with Coach Dutcher. We didn't really have an exchange of words too often. So I think when he moved into the head coaching job, which he's well deserving of, um, I have nothing ill to say about Coach Dutch. I love Coach Dutch. Um, I think that from his perspective, he maybe didn't know how to tell me that, hey, Jerm, I think I want to go with this starting lineup. I want to do these things. I think he just didn't know how to do that at the time or tell me. You know what I'm saying? Because he
yeah,
he he was part of the group that recruited me as well. But you're a new coach. You probably see something new that I don't see, and at the time, I'm feeling so angry. I'm like, "Dude, what is it? Just tell me." But I'm not looking at it from a perspective of, first off, he's a new coach. Second off, Germ, find out what it is that you can do different, or what is it that he's seeing about you that, what I'm saying, that kind of has him like questioning whether you should start or not. So when
mm,
I
mhm,
when I said about um when I think back to that specific year, and I think about how I wish I would have handled things differently. It's little things like that. It's little things like that, and even just adversity in general. I wish I would have taken it on instead of letting it shut me down. I kind of let it shut me down, and it changed my game. It changed my confidence, and now my leash is getting shorter on the when I'm on the court, because it's like, okay, he's thinking too much, and now he's making mistakes, and it just changed everything. And it took time for me to get my confidence back, but I think back to that time, and I'm like, Jeremy, you could have handled it differently. You could have just taken that adversity on the chin and ran at it instead of running away from it.
mm,
Jerm, the way I like to look at that year, that 2018 year, because that was kind of a special year. You talk about overcoming adversity. We lost a lot of games early on, and then
Yeah,
I think it was that Wyoming game. We didn't lose until the tournament. It was like Ash Wednesday. It was like, we're not going to lose for Lent. you know, and we didn't. Like we won all the games up until Man Bun hit that ridiculous shot at the end of the game. And I really thought that team, that 2018, could make a run through the tournament. You know, it just happened. We just, fell a little short against Houston. But man, what a great run through the Mountain West Conference tournament. And the thing is, like, you were a huge piece of that. Yes, you didn't start, right? But you had a huge contribution to that team.
Right.
And I kind of like what Dutch says, it doesn't really matter who starts. It matters like who finishes, and where's your contribution to the team, know? And the reality is, man, you were a big part of that team.
Man, thank you for saying so. Because at the time, it's just, especially when you're at a young age, and even though I still am young, but I was 20, I had just turned 22 at that time. I just couldn't see it from a mature perspective, I couldn't. I'm hearing outside voices telling me you should be starting. I'm just feeling crushed. I don't know what to do. So I'm just like, I'm messed up about it in my head. But looking back, I should have just did what I grew up on. I should have just took it to prayer. I should have just kept it. I should have just kept trying, I kind of just let me defer. I just deferred. I'm like, okay, I'm not starting no more. I'm thinking that they think they don't need me anymore, and I kind of embodied that feeling, and I just try to take it out on whoever I'm guarding at this point because I'm so mad. I'm not getting answers from Dutch really, but it all falls back to me. Anything that's gone wrong in my life or could have gone different falls back to how I could have or should have handled it, and I've reflected on that.
That's beautiful, man. That's and I'm glad that we are talking with you at such a time as this right now with the team a little bit on a little struggle, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people saying different things, wondering why so-and-so is not starting. I mean, we have the conversations and to hear your in hindsight and the wisdom coming out. I mean, that's cool. We got a question really quick. Okay, so leading up to maybe not knowing how to tell you those things, did the coaches ever ask you to change your shot mechanic?
They did, man. And I don't know why, because it was going in. I was shooting well. I'm telling you, everything that kind of went opposite of how I was expecting it happened my junior year. That's the only year where I'm like, damn, what the hell was going on? But yeah, they did ask me to change my shot mechanics. And like I said, I was already in my head about so many other things in regards to how they felt about me. So my shot just went left at that point. My junior year, that's probably the worst I shot, bro. That's probably the worst I shot. But they did ask me to change it. But I'm sure now if there is somebody shooting well, they just let them rock with whatever form it is that they have. But at the time, you gotta remember, the state was still changing at this time. Like we had just got the Jam Center. You feel me? Our pride and joy, which still is Kawhi, but we hadn't been in no Final Four. Players weren't getting paid NILs. It was still changing. So I think the coaches were learning just as the players were learning, So the version I got of them, the coaches that are still there on staff, isn't who this is now because they've grown just like I have.
Absolutely, man. Ooh.
What's your favorite memory from state?
My favorite memory, and it goes back
on
to
or off the court.
It goes back to that New Mexico game. Yeah, that New Mexico game. It was my freshman year, I believe. It could have been sophomore, one of the two. But we won that game, I think, by 2 or 3 points. It was an early game, just like how it was going to be on Saturday. Me and my family was there. My mom, my dad, I think my sister was there. Maybe it just been my mom and dad. But we go to it used to be a burger spot over there. I forget what street name it was, but it was a burger spot right there by campus. I forget the name. It was like by a tattoo shop. So after the game, I go over there with my mom and my dad. We're taking our order and at the burger spot, and I turned around and I guess everybody in there was just at the game and they recognized me, and they all just start clapping and they're like, yeah, Jeremy. But I remember feeling so happy for my parents in that moment because I just remember the look on their face, and I remember how proud they felt in that moment. I had played well that game, and then after that, it was a moment that just us three shared, so it felt good because they sacrificed everything just to even get me to that point, so that's a memory that sticks out for me.
It's great. That's awesome.
You said your dad played ball, correct?
Hmm.
How much of an influence was he on your game, or just, what can you speak about?
My dad, both of my parents they were young parents, man, and I was their first child together, so they didn't play no games when it came to me. Like they taught me everything early. My mom taught me all the school side. She taught me how to present myself, how to speak, how to how to have manners, and she taught me that side. But my dad taught me the side that he knew best, because my dad came from really being in the streets, and so he not only taught me to not be like how he used to be, but he taught me tenacity. He taught me like hard work. He taught me that it's not gonna be given to you. He used to have me up at 5 a.m. riding bikes up the hill every morning. But it had got to the point where he worked me so hard, I started to love it. I started waking him up like, Dad, let's come follow me while I ride up the hill, or um, drop me off at the gym real quick. Drop me off before you go to work. It turned into that. So my dad taught me that the only way you can succeed at the game is if you really put your whole self in it, if you love it. You know what I'm saying? And as we were talking about reflecting and things like that, and talking back to my junior year, around that time I stopped loving the game. I stopped obsessing over the game. I stopped, like, I didn't feel the same way, and I think it showed. But my dad taught me that. He taught me you gotta love it. Like, I used to sleep with my basketball, but it was because of him. He had me sleeping with the basketball. I remember in like first grade, he would have me. I would do my homework. I'll come home. I'll do my homework, and then we would go outside. He would have me dribble with each finger 20 times, right hand, left hand. I would do that from 8 p.m. to 8:30. This was first grade, 8 p.m. to 8:30. But that type of stuff set it was my foundation. It set the tone for everything until I got to college, until I played overseas. It set the tone. Like, he did. Once I hit high school, he didn't have to keep telling me certain things. It was just, I
Yeah.
knew what the deal was.
You find that work ethic, or just that hard work, translate into what you're doing now with your new venture and everything you're trying to do now off the court?
Yes, and forgive me if my answers are long. Please feel free to cut me off. But
No, man. We're grateful for the time. You let us know when it's too long.
yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, that's, I guess, been the challenging part, is applying that same tenacity to other fields. And it's crazy because I still relate everything to basketball, even with the clothing line, and
Yeah.
whether I'm designing something or anything, I still relate it back to basketball, and I understand that I can't be great at it unless I have that same 5 a.m. mentality that I had. But I think these last 3-4 years, it's been not really 3-4 years. I stopped playing in 2021, 22. So since then, it's been the teaching myself to let that translate to everything else that I've been doing. Because I still walk around the crib and I'm still playing air basketball. Like, it's still in me. Like, I'm still adjusting to being a regular civilian. Like, I'm still adjusting to that. But to answer your question, yes. Like, the only way that the things that I'm praying for to work, it can only work if I bring that work ethic to it, for sure.
Well, I hope everybody is getting intrigued and want to go follow you on Instagram and see the brand that you are cooking up, man. Seriously, I'm excited to see the creations. That's cool. That's cool.
I've seen some of the photos and the
Yeah.
videos of the outfits. Like, you've been fitting some of the guys that
sir.
were on the team, like AG. I know
Yes,
he's
sir.
really big into fashion, and some of the other guys that were I don't know if maybe Shackle, or some of the people
Yeah,
who
for sure.
guys who are working out down here in San Diego. But yeah, it's really cool to see like, what you're doing with that, and how talented you are with that.
Man, thank you. I think I'm still learning myself as a human being, because I identified as a basketball player for 22 years of my life, So this the stage that I'm at now it's like I'm proving something to myself. When I was playing basketball, I was always trying to prove something to somebody else. I was trying to prove I can shoot the ball, I can play, I can defend. Like I deserve to be here. I'm trying to prove it to strangers, to fans, to anybody, but this is the first time in my life where I'm proving something to myself, man. It's been crazy because it's like I wasn't doing that my whole life. I never tried to prove something to me. I was trying to prove something to everyone else. So I appreciate you saying that, man. I have a lot of love and support around me too.
Enjoy it. Have fun with it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
that love starts within, and then it
For sure.
radiates outward. So
For sure.
that's and you're following your passion, and your
Sure.
calling. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of a fun question from somebody. They say, Jerm, what is the best movie about basketball in your
About
opinion?
basketball.
A lot of good ones, man.
Yeah, it's
A
a
lot of
lot
good
of
ones.
good ones. You said what is the best one? It would have to be Love and Basketball. And I hate to say that because I think the movie is so corny now. But that's a movie me and my girl talk about. We used to love that movie when we were growing up because we were neighbors and stuff when we were younger. So we used to love that movie. But I'll probably say Love and Basketball for sure. Love and Basketball.
Really? You were
Plus,
neighbors?
you're from Southern California, so
Yeah, yes sir, yes sir.
yeah.
What
The
would you say?
IE.
What would you say?
For me, it's Hoop Dreams. Hoop Dreams
Okay,
is my all time favorite. I'm from
okay.
Chicago, so and
Oh,
I
you
grew up there in
Chicago boy. I didn't know that.
yeah, I grew up in Chicago. Well, not in Chicago, but Chicagoland. But I grew up during that era, and it's just such a great story about inner
It
city
is.
basketball
It is.
and guys trying to make it out of the inner city, and getting opportunities to do that, and sort of the two paths of the players take, to
Right.
get where they want to go. It's just such a great documentary. That's my favorite.
Okay, so
Is that?
documentary.
Yeah, I
I've
was about to ask you.
Reggie Miller versus the Knicks at 30 for 30. That's my
Yes.
favorite. That's my favorite basketball documentary ever. I could watch that
Mm.
every day.
But when he's
Yeah.
doing the choke.
So Reggie Miller is
Yeah.
from the Inland Empire too, and Lamont
hmm
Butler broke his scoring record at Riverside Poly. Was he a guy that you looked up to, or that you aspired like? Who,
Reggie, no. Nah, not really. I didn't. It's crazy because most people have people that they look up to. I mean, Kobe, obviously, but I just wanted. I didn't really look up to nobody. I had favorite players, but it was never. I don't think I was tall enough or short enough to have the same game as somebody. So I never looked at somebody else's game and was like, I want to play like him. But I would see something, I'm like, I'll try that. I'll try that crossover. I'll try that dunk. Or
You know who I would say maybe closest to? Like a
who?
like the glove, like a Gary Payton.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good
That
comparison. That's a good comparison.
that defense, that
That's a good
defense.
comparison.
Man, Gary Payton he was something else.
so
He
if
was,
I
yeah,
had
he was,
if I had to compare a player on this Aztecs team to you, this current Aztecs team to you,
Mm,
I would probably compare Miles Bird.
mm.
Just
mm.
because of the way the defense he plays, the energy, being able to block shots. Like, you used to be able to get up and swat at the rim. That was awesome, to
Yeah,
watch, and getting steals. He's not the best outside shooter. I think that's something that you really, worked on throughout your career.
yeah,
And that's something, but the defense and the energy, it's just his game really reminds me a lot of your game.
man. That's a blessing, man. I'm thankful you compare me anybody to me, man. That's cool. Somebody said he got game. Dang, I missed that one. I missed that.
Yeah, Jeremy. We know Jeremy LaHaye. We call him
Slipped my
Rebar.
mind, man. Slipped my
Shuttlesworth.
mind. Slipped my mind. Dang.
Mm.
But yeah, somebody said Lamont Butler too, because I grew up seeing, not grew up, but I saw Lamont Butler coming up under me since we're both from the IE. And I think he had came to my dorm room one day because my cousin Malik Thomas, he just transferred from USC to University of San Francisco. They're close. And I'm pretty sure they came to my apartment after one of those games while I was at state, and I was just giving him shoes. I'm like, that I didn't wear anymore. So it's crazy to see that he's at state now. 'Cause I saw little Lamont with the big ears and a little head, all shifty, and now he's hitting the jumpers yeah, he's hitting game winners and Final Fours and stuff. So it's
Yes,
crazy.
sir.
It's crazy.
Comes full
Speaking
circle.
speaking of shoes, what kind of J's would you enjoy playing in, and what is your favorite to sport around town?
You know, it's crazy. I've always been a guy that only hooped in shoes. Like I couldn't wear the J's with the outfit or something. I could only wear them on the court. But
Okay.
my favorite was the 11s to hoop in.
Mm.
The 11s. I think so. Yeah, the 11s. I think I hooped in the fours a little bit too. Yeah, but the 11s were just always, those were always the ones for me. They always felt real comfortable. And yeah, I'll say the 11s. You have a
I feel
favorite?
like that's it. I'm a 3 guy. I like the 3. I
Threes
didn't,
is
I
cool
don't hoop.
though.
Yeah, I have them all. I have too many, to be honest with you, but I like to wear them out. You know what I mean? And just kind of that's
Yeah,
my going out with my wife to dinner shoes
yeah.
kind of thing. So,
No, the threes
but a
are
lot of
cool.
guys say the 11s. A lot
Yeah.
of guys say the 11s. So, but yeah, man, I would love watching you guys just hoop in those J's and then switch them up at halftime and then just see like it was shoe game
Yeah.
university. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
if you're playing bad in the first half, you got to switch out the shoes and go to the next pair.
yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
Let me ask you this. I indulge my ignorance here, but Germ, where does that come from? Where did you get that nickname from?
So it's funny, just like coming up in hoop, you're always at basketball camps and you're able to be around different people from different areas. So I was I was at a camp called what was the name of it? It was some All American camp, and it was actually somebody we played against while I was at state. He went to Cal. His name was Paris Austin, and he was just like one day on the court, he was like, "Yo, Germ," and it just stuck. Like everybody just started calling me Germ. Like before that, I would just go by Jeremy. Some people would call me Jay, and after he called me Germ, I was like, "Yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like that." So I started saying that. Like if I was introducing myself, I would say Germ, or it just stuck. It just stuck. It was just something that stuck. Like it wasn't nothing crazy. It was just something that came about at a basketball camp.
Okay, I was always wondering about that.
Yeah, it was cool though. I still like it. People still call me Jerm, so it's kind of like a second name at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you were such a fan favorite. Everybody loves to call you Germ. They feel that closeness. They want to feel that comfortability with you. I'm seeing Oliver Lee respected Germ for this honesty and openness. You were always one of our favorite Aztec players, a fan favorite, a player that fans always root for. I mean, that is the absolute truth. I share that sentiment. I'm sure I am not the only one. We're seeing it in the chat. Germ, how is it gonna feel? How's it gonna feel walking into Vay House on Saturday? What's gonna be
You
going through your
know,
mind?
it's crazy because since I left, I've envisioned what it would feel like so many times. I've envisioned myself being angry. I've envisioned myself being nervous, but now that it's coming up, I feel like I've grown in ways and in ways I didn't really imagine back then. So I think I feel comfortable, man. I think I feel like myself, and I think it's a good chance for me to connect with not only the people that I did spend time with, but the people I don't that probably don't know me, I haven't seen me, or have may just heard about me. So I think it'll feel good, man. I think it'll feel good. I feel comfortable walking in there because I feel like myself, and I don't think I think at the time when I left state, I didn't really feel like myself. So maybe the people that did know me around that time, they get a chance to see a version that they didn't get to see at the time, you know? So that's an exciting thought to think about. That's an exciting thought to think about.
You're part of the legacy, you know, of Aztec basketball. Tradition never graduates. I mean, and I got a question for you. So if the show were to ask you, would you lead the "I Believe" chant before the game?
Of course, man. Of course. Of course. Of course, man.
Okay, we got to make that
Of
happen.
course I would, man.
Oh my
Of
goodness.
course I would.
Oh,
How could I
well,
not, man? That's what got me to stay.
we-
Once I saw that, I was like, I'm going there.
wow.
What game was your recruiting visit when you came to state? Was it that New Mexico game, the 131 game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dude,
yes.
I'll tell you what, man. That I've been to. I still have my season tickets. I fly down for some games. That might be the craziest game I've ever seen at home, and that the energy was just
Ever.
unbelievable. Like
'Cause I
that was.
couldn't. You got to think. I was at an all boys high school, and yeah, the games would be packed. But this was my first San Diego State game that I ever saw, and I was still deciding between if I wanted to go to San Diego State or if I wanted to go to Washington. Those are my last two. I'm like, it's gonna be one of those two. Man, I went to that game. First off, I wasn't even tripping about them being down. I was seeing the crowd. I'm like, I'm mind blown. I'm in the crowd, not even talking to my dad. I'm just like, I'm blown. But then they came back. I'm like, I think it was Dwayne Polee at the top of the.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just remember telling my parents, I was like, man, I know that's where I'm supposed to be. So yeah, that game, no, yeah, man.
Oh, that was a wild game, man. I'm glad you came to that one. We hooked you away from
I
Washington.
swear
Man.
to you, man, that blew my mind. I was like, whoa. The crowd was up the whole game. I was like, wow. And that's what I would dream of when I was younger and I had the dream of going to college. That was something that was always on my mind. I'm like, the crowd has to be packed. Like, I don't want to play in front of just some weak fans that's not really into the game. They just there to, you know. So that was important to me. So once I saw it live, it felt like I had to be there.
Well, we talked with Dwayne and recounted his memories of that game, being out there at the top of that 131, and he takes credit for telling the coaches we need to run the 131 zone. So hey, if he takes credit for that, he took credit for that. He said I told the coaches might as well try it. So if he takes credit for that, we might have to give him that credit.
Polee ain't do that, man. He lied to y'all.
What?
Polee ain't do that, man.
You gotta set the record straight. What?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about that when I see him, bro. Like, you ain't do that.
I was gonna give him that credit for securing Germ's commitment and scholarship down here.
No, it was a perfect game, man. It was all written. It was all written.
Oh man,
I'm grateful.
Well, Jerm, we thank you so much, man. Thank you for joining. We don't want to take up all your time. We're so happy you spent and was gracious with this time, man. We look forward to seeing you out there in the arena at Viejas, a place that you left your mark at for sure. You left your mark. Just look at the chat. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Seriously, man. I appreciate you guys taking the time out, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Saturday as well. If all three of you are going to be there.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. I don't think, Mike, are you going to be there? You're still up in Reno, right?
No, I'm up in Reno, man. I've kind of had my allotment with games flying down with my wife and my little girl, so I won't be there. But I hopefully if we make it out to Vegas for the Mount One tournament, I'd love to meet you and hang out for a little bit, man.
Yeah, man, we can definitely do that. Keep in touch, man. Keep in touch. I'm Aztec for life, man. Seriously.
We'll might have to bug you about maybe a little collaboration with the clothing lines because I love what you do, man. Love what I'm seeing.
Easy call, man. Easy call. That ain't nothing.
Let's send out Jerm right. Hopefully we can get you down there on the Viejas floor and we'll be screaming out the chant with you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir,
man.
man. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you for
Jeremy,
taking the time. We really
All right,
appreciate it,
guys.
man. It's very nice of you. So thank you
Yes,
for
It's all
sir.
love
God
here,
bless.
Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
Same
for
here.
coming on.
God bless y'all.
Yeah.
You
have a
too.
good night.
Have fun on Saturday.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Take care.
Woo-wee.
But I just
Well-
like it's amazing, man. Every time we talk to one of these guys, they're just like, it's not just like one word answers. It's very thought out, methodical, genuine answers that these guys
Yeah, they
have.
give a better
It's-
interview than I would give. So
yeah,
that it
so
just really speaks to their character too. I mean, the type of individuals, we don't recruit junk at San Diego State, so we get quality guys, not just quality basketball players, but quality character. And he's just speaks to that, and it just seems like every interview we do, that's what we encounter, and so that's what we expect at SDSU.
That was awesome seeing it. I mean, I know
apologies, guys. I know my camera keeps wigging out after a certain time, and I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Flavor Guy. Welcome back.
That was awesome seeing him. Yeah.
What an incredible time with Jerm. I mean, like you guys said, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for just showering him with that love that Aztec Nation has for him, because it's clearly evident, and I hope he does feel it. Thank you, Sarah Fembone. I hope he does feel it. Get mobbed with love this Saturday as the Aztecs play Utah State. We got to bring the energy. We got to bring it, because the Aztecs need that win, and having Jerm in the house, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Mr. Flavor Guy, okay.
Yep.
You think we can make this happen?
I think so. For the I believe, I'll be right there in front of him. I'll be staring right at him and saying I believe right after him. We'll make it happen somehow. But that was that was awesome seeing him. Like those were my first few games. That was my first season really seeing Aztec games in person. I had seen him before, and like on TV a little bit, and I was like, I don't really care, right? Then I went to SDSU and was freshman and everything, and I really just liked his work ethic and everything, and just all the defensive plays. So seeing him in person on Sons of Money was awesome.
Woo-wee.
That Utah State game is going to be great. I know we're going long, but they're at the top of the conference, and their coach rotated everybody out, and they're still, one of the top 20 teams. It's going to be rough, but yeah, it'll be fun.
I remember talking with Fiend early in the year. I mean, we didn't think Danny Sprinkle, we didn't know what he was going to do with that team, and look at them now. And it seems like everybody's saying what's going on. What's the update on the score, guys, with our Lobos and Broncos?
It's 7 points I have right now. I'm probably behind, but I saw the comment in the chat, and I pulled on the side. I think it's probably over, but you never know. This conference this year.
That would be a big win for Boise on the road at New Mexico. That Pitt is just such a hard place to win at, and I just saw I think a tweet like on Twitter X. I think it was today of someone saying it was a New Mexico fan that New Mexico is not going to lose any games at the Pitt.
Yeah,
and that sure looks like they're going to.
And we saw what they did, not just to us, but to Utah State. That's Utah State's only loss. They're 10-0 at home, and they're, for what I know, you guys, the net, but they're 16 in the net. They're very good, and I was like, are they beatable at home? Is that even possible? So that's a shock. Rice has got something on this year.
House is 1 for 14.
Jesus,
that's why they're losing.
Field goals.
Yeah, that's why they're losing.
Well, I bet he's not showboating and dancing around.
No. But that's crazy that Boise has 4 conference road wins and 2 conference home losses. 2 losses at home, 4 on the road wins. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know, man. This is just wild, but we'll see what happens, man. This is see what's happening. But I mean, whatever. Fuck both those teams. So, anyways, Jeremy was great, man. You know what I mean? Like he was awesome. Just to listen to him, I was just kind of just like mesmerized with just listening to like the cerebralness of his answers and stuff, man. You know what I mean? And if you guys do a collaboration, I think that's gonna be sweet, dude.
Yeah, they got some crazy styles. I love it. I gotta learn from him because they're doing some real fashionable things. You know what I mean? Like real fashion.
Yeah.
So I saw Sarah's comment that Max Rice went off for like 30 points plus, and Larry Eustace is a volunteer assistant on Boise's bench. I remember seeing that. That was a trip. He's got like the ponytail. He's rocking the ponytail, man bun, and all that stuff. Larry Eustace. Okay, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this a crazy stat? Points in the paint, 46 and 38.
What are we talking about?
This
for the Boise, New Mexico right now.
Oh Lord. Yeah, we'll have to look into that game. I don't know how they're doing it in the pit, but we'll have to look into that.
Hey, Justin, you calm down. You're starting to sound like Fiend.
You're sounding
all
like
these
me
other
with all the
teams.
numbers.
Yeah, sounding all these other teams. Oh, look at But yeah, I mean, hey, so we just got to worry about Utah State. We got to get back on
one game at a time.
We're 3-3 in the last 6 games. We got to go on a streak.
Yeah.
And again, you know what? The other thing too, last night, like those long stretches of not scoring.
That's like every game, not even this year, but previous years. It's maybe you could say that just about teams in sports generally, but going a long like 5-6 minute stretch, having a drought, and then that's what mattered. Basketball is obviously really streaky, but I feel like specifically the last like 2-3 years, and we've been winning a lot of games, and we tend to win a lot of games, but the ones we lose, it's like we go, 100 hours without scoring a point.
Fiend, any thoughts on Utah State coming into Viejas this Saturday? Danny Sprinkle, whole new looking team. They're in first place. It looks like they're going to create some distance in the Mountain West Conference with New Mexico losing to Boise. Utah State, the Aggies, you love to hate them. We all love to hate them. They are annoying. They are BYU light, it seems like. But you know what? Respect to their program. They make great hires. And somehow they are able to recruit kids out there in the middle of nowhere, BF Utah. Yeah. Any thoughts on Utah State?
Yeah, I mean they're just really talented. Great Osobor is like a kind of a clone of Jaden Ledee. Big guy, down low, gets a lot of points. Gets fouled, goes to the free throw line. Gets rebounds. I mean, he's one of the better bigs in the conference. And then Darius Brown is the point guard. Interestingly enough, he played 2 years at CSUN with Terrell Gomez. So he was Terrell Gomez's teammate there. Really good point guard for them. The two of them are kind of lead that team. And then they've got some just great length on their team. They've got a 7-foot transfer from Oregon. They've got Ian Martinez, who has bounced around from Utah to Maryland to Utah State. And so they've got some guys with some really good length who can are just good players. And so, but they're coming to our house. And so I think this is going to be a really tough test for them. And we should walk away with the victory.
Ooh, okay. Taking the number 1 team down in the Mountain West.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we win. Yes.
Okay. I know UNLV gave them fits. They should have beat them had it not been for a crazy mixed up ending there in Las Vegas. But I also feel pretty good with our athleticism and hopefully getting some a little bit of home cooking, not being out free throw shot 22-7 again for the second straight week. That would be a help. Mike, any thoughts on Utah State? I know you're not going to be down here this weekend. I wish you were, but we got to win this one, man. Got to protect home court. Aztecs in the fishbowl.
I mean, I just miss Steve Nashworth, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know much about them. I just think they're a solid team. You don't go 19-2 and just that's not fluky at that point, man. Like you win 19 and 21 games. That is not fluky at all. So they're a good team. they're the number 1 seed right now for a reason, 7-1 in conference. And so, I mean, we've talked about it. You got to bring your A game every single night, man. And, I think we need to figure ourselves out here, Jaden, I feel like maybe Jaden feel like he has to shoulder the load all on his own, and he started passing a little bit more last game. And, that's not a knock on him. It's not a knock on the team. I just feel like intuitively, he feels like, hey, I got to pick my game up and help out my teammates and stuff like that. And I think that's what you want from your leader. But you also have to, sometimes be like, all right, shit, I got 3 guys, let's pop it out, and maybe make that decision a little bit sooner than later, which I think he's starting to do, because guys, they're not, I don't think anybody's figured out Jaden. His game hasn't changed. He's always had the same game. Guys, they're adapting to him because they say, hey, this is how you beat San Diego State. Okay, so this is how you beat San Diego State. You focus on Jaden and let everybody else beat you. And so when you got guys who aren't shooting that well, like when you have him and Heidi on the floor, Heidi is still a freshman. He's still getting his feet under him. You know what I mean? Like he's still kind of, he's like the pace of the game might be just, it's not out of his reach. It's just, he's still learning the game. You know what I mean? So, in it'll be interesting to see how they, if Dutch starts screwing around. I don't think he's screwing around with the starting lineups, but the different lineups and stuff like that. But, all guys they all have to remember one of our biggest concern was the bench at one point in the year. And now it's like, okay, let's figure this out. But I mean, Reese Waters he just looks smooth, man, and then Butler started to pick it up, and I love Darian. You know what I mean? I mean, Darian's always he's always going to fight and play hard and go after his guys and stuff like that. So we just got to play better basketball, man, because everybody wants to beat us, and everybody wants to beat us at home, and everybody wants to beat us anywhere. And just play your game, keep playing, and handle the adversity. And you could do the same thing 2 days in a row, and you could fail one day and win the next day. So just keep fighting, man. That's all you can do.
The best you got, every day.
Yeah.
Aztec flavor, put it in perspective with UNM's loss.
Yeah, so that puts Utah State thoroughly at the top of the mountain there with 1 loss. And in terms of undefeated teams at home, SDSU, yes. Utah State, yes. New Mexico, no, for what it's worth. But I agree with Mike that a lot of it's on our bigs or big, with Ladie shouldering a lot of the load. And the past few games, that's been their strategy. You guys are more, up in the weeds of everything basketball. But I think I just agree more as a layman that it's Ladie, and the other guys don't have as many minutes and as much experience. And it's interesting when Dutch was playing 2 bigs for a little bit and see if he experiments with that a little bit more. I'd like to see Waters shooting some more also. He's a great shooter, and Butler was really great last game. So get the ball around more, keep playing good defense, and then, as Dutch says, give him freedom on offense. And that'll be a lot of fun with the Germ leading that, I believe, too. That'll be a big game in general. Obviously very important, but big for TV, big for, media and everything. And after a few road losses, we really need it, we to get that momentum going. I mean, also we were talking about, with, not to go on too long, but with that season with the Germ where we ended on like 5 or 6 games in a row, and we got the 5 seed in the conference tournament. We won the whole tournament, everything, played Houston, but there was all that momentum at the end of the year. We tend to have all this momentum at the end of the year. So this would be a great time to start that. We only have a few games left. This is a big ask, but it's at home, and we'll see. They're a good team. We're a good team.
I mean, here's the other thing. We have Utah State, Florida State, New Mexico, Boise State, all home. I mean, we're only 2 games behind Utah State. We played them twice. So you never know, man. You got to start beat Utah State.
Mexico's got a lot of road games left too.
Yeah, I mean, just
keep interesting. Yeah.
One foot in front of the other, and just keep focus on that next game, because the next week after that, Air Force and at Nevada is going to be a tough sled.
Yeah, Air Force altitude too. I mean, I think everybody looks past that one, but the road in the Mountain West is something, as we've obviously learned.
I'm just glad we don't have to play Wyoming again.
Yeah, not at Laramie.
They look good, man. They look good, dude.
I feel like the past few years we play UNLV early, and then they get really good like later in the season. Like I'm glad we played them early. You know?
We still play them. We still play them at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
I
We still
know.
gonna beat them.
Like
Yeah.
first game beginning of this year, and then they've been heating up. And then I think it was last year or something too. We played them around New Year's, and then they were heating up.
Yeah. Year's Eve.
Well, I agree with Larry Joe. We need to do some pick and roll with our guards and make sure we're hitting our open mid-range shots. But you know what? It's going to be a fun game this Saturday. The Aztecs and the Aggies. It's going to mean a lot, especially with New Mexico losing. Anything can happen. Like you guys said, get hot at the right time and go on a nice stretch. And it all starts at home this Saturday. See you all there. Guys, thank you for joining me in this amazing episode talking about the last game, but Jeremy Hemsley joining us. It's going to be great to see him there at Viejas. Everybody, make sure you go to sonsofmontezuma.com, support our NIL players, and we have some more coming down the line. Thank you for all your super chats and your donations this past weekend with our flood relief efforts. Everybody stay safe. A lot of rain coming this next couple days. Please, we want to see you on Saturday at Viejas. Everybody.
Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs. Night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Hey,